Hello and welcome to the after party. You know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm No White Guilt, and with me is the Great Order. The Honors Roll Call highlights and celebrates those who have conscientiously committed to monthly subscription investments in my work for White Wellbeing. And appearing on the Honors Roll Call today are the Good Girl, In Quipper, Jason, Jim, John's G, M, and N, Johnny and Johnny J, Kara, Lawrence, Omar, Paul, Richard and Robert, Ryan, Saint McFreeman, Thomas, and Trent. I warmly appreciate your support, and I'm most grateful that there are people like yourselves who are driven by sterling character and a sense of destiny. If you appreciate what I'm doing for White Wellbeing, please consider becoming a monthly investor. The more you invest, the less time I have to spend at my day job, the more I can spend for White Wellbeing. As for the Superchat crown winner of last week, the crown goes to Chuck Ford for investing a total of $45. Just say, go to hell to the SAS dollars. A warm thank you and congratulations, good sir. In second place was Ohesian Outlaw, investing $25. Congratulations and thank you as well. Super Chat, as always, on YouTube at 30%. Or you can jump on over to Entropy, which you can access through our joint website, and you can Super Chat there at 15%. You can also watch the stream, vote on questions and ask questions, and participate in any polls that get posted during the course of the stream, which occasionally happens. You can also Super Chat on Ko-fi at 15%, or finally, Cash App at 6%. Today is 1 week before our second birthday here on Tap, and we wanted to dedicate the show to all of you. So we are going to be taking your questions. Bring up what you like. Romance, of course, is in the air as we are approaching Valentine's Day tomorrow. And, of course, we have a few issues to cover as well over the course of tonight's program. It's just Jared, myself, and all of you. Mr. George, how are you doing this day before Valentine's Day?
I'll come out from behind the curtain here. Hello, everybody. Yes, we're going to be talking to many people next week, next Friday the 21st. So it's just the two of us tonight, a little pre-Valentine's Day party. And if any of you saw the tweets or any other social media leading up to this, a couple things to go over too. One new magazine that we've been made aware of, and also a magazine that's not necessarily in the white positive sphere, but a good example of bridge building. Magazine that's beginning to publish some things that I've written and some other people in the white positive sphere as well. I'm not sure how much they want to publicize it. I don't think there's an issue, but since I haven't spoken to those other people, I won't necessarily name them since we haven't spoken about it. But I'm not the only one, and it is a nice example of bridge building. So we have a couple things to talk about. It's an informal kind of tap, more to check in with the audience. And as Jason said, the day before Valentine's Day. So we can focus on romance type questions if we want. I think Jason and I might each read a love poem. Who knows? Who knows? Romance and mischief is in the air. And I see you're very good with the helium balloons. I see you have your Valentine's Day helium balloon.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Casting a shadow, giving this blur effect.
Yes, indeed. It's casting the shadow of love across our lovely race and all of our beautiful women, the most beautiful in the world. And let's hear from our women today, too, in the live chat about how much they cherish our men. White men put down for the totality of our lives. No escape for us when it comes to anti-whiteism. So we are the ones suffering most grievously. If you have something nice to say about the man or men in your lives, your sons, your brothers, your fathers, please make sure to say something kind to them or about them in the live chat today. We would appreciate it. Thank you so much. I see all of our wonderful moderators are here. Seaver, Laura, I think Ray is here. I saw earlier. So many channel members. It's great to have you all as members of the channel. And we are, as soon as the cover of Prometheus Rising is finished, that artist is going to get to work on some member-only emojis. And we're going to have some fun emojis for you all to play with in the live chat. Make sure that there will never
have a walrus.
We'll have a walrus. There will never be a dull moment.
We're going to have a sea lion.
Sea lion, a walrus, the rabbit.
We like aquatic mammals.
A lot of
you have to go back and watch the After Hours from a few weeks ago with the walrus as the avatar. This as the thumbnail, I should say. You can go find that on the afterparty.tv. So yeah, give us your questions and comments about love and romance. I'm tweeting that out. Give us your questions and comments about love and romance. It doesn't mean we have to divulge everything about our personal lives, but we're happy to talk about things that could help everyone and get through these times together, be inspiring to each other. That's what we're all here for, right?
Amen. Well, did you want to get into the magazine? I have downloaded these clips or these images.
Yeah, as people come up with their love and romance questions,
they come up.
I'm sure there'll be people like, talk about crazy stuff going on in the world, which we will, but there's always occasion for that too. We know, and I'm sure you guys addressed some of it on Power yesterday as well. But yeah, if you want to do that, as we're kind of getting warmed up, there is a new magazine that a gentleman who goes by Evil Chars has made me aware of. And Evil Chars, you may see if you go to the YouTube replays, often has very insightful, thoughtful comments. He's a big participant here in this community, and he's someone I've been in touch with for a while. Him and some of his friends actually helped me a little bit with some of the research for the Hail video that came out on Red Ice recently. So if you go to their site or some of the pages with that video, you go down, you'll see him and Grizzly Saxon thanked in the comments. But Evil Chars emailed me, and he made me aware of some people in his circles who have started a new magazine called Europe and Diaspora. And it is appropriately named because we'll share some screen images from the magazine. I have his blessing to do so. They're trying to get an idea if people would like to buy physical copies. You can get in touch if you want a PDF right now. But I think he was saying it's a big magazine. It's something well over 100 pages. So I think he was saying that right now for physical copies, it might cost about $30. But if something like a small number, only a few dozen people purchase it, then the price will go down. So please, if any of this sounds intriguing, what we're about to show you for the next few minutes, share it with people or let me know if this is something you'd be interested in, and I'll get this feedback back to them. But it's like a lot of these magazines and cultural relics coming out right now, it is very well done. It's very visually rich. And what I was about to say is it's appropriately named Europe and Diaspora because it really does, as we're about to see, hit this tone of we're all united, and yet there are all of these cultures from the different places that we've traveled to around the world. They do a really, really nice job of getting that balance and showing that, as we were talking about a few weeks ago with Daughter of Albion, the trunk and then the branches. So really well named. I don't know if you have the images ready to go, Jason, but we can talk.
Yes, the first image I think is at the 9560, the lowest. I think that's there you go.
So that's the cover, and a few these images. I believe the cover and another one we're going to show you on the back cover was done by this guy Athelwolf that you'll see listed there on the bottom, who's actually from South Africa, which again perfectly illustrates we can go anywhere, we can travel anywhere in the world, and still be connected to these symbols and images and themes that run through us that are timeless. So that is the cover. And then you can go through. I'll just quickly show you guys a few things here. This is of course, the contents page, and we'll show you some highlights. But you can see that there are all kinds of different ways that they approach the content. So the editor, he has something about the wild hunt. There's something about sacred groves. And then there are recipes. If you see on the top on the right, there's folklore, and that's actually older folklore that's been translated in the case of the Baltic folklore. There's also Snow White, they say remythed. So we know the story of Snow White, but someone from their team took it upon themselves to kind of write it in a more contemporary style. Might be good for kids. Then you have all of these recipes. Then you have poetry and prose. We see poetry in a lot of these magazines, of course. I've contributed to some like WPQ, but also short stories, and then an interview at the end. So there's a different array of content. And then you can, if you go on, Jason, this is that Sacred Groves. That next one just kind of shows you the layout. Now, as we're going to go on, you'll see not everything, the different aspects of the magazine have different looks to them, but this is kind of what a feature looks like. And then if you go on, we'll go on with that. As I was mentioning, there, following this piece, that's the title page, there's a piece of Baltic folklore that's translated. So this is great because obviously the magazine's in English, but again, they're really taking the time and effort to hammer home all of the different branches of our tree, of our European family. And so the sharing folklore, in this case from the Baltic, I'm sure in future issues, their vision would be to share from other cultures and have other translations. But I think that's a great, great idea. Actually, the next page kind of shows now, you'll see that not a, like the feature on the groves we showed you a minute ago had a kind of dark look to it. And then the folklore, this is how the layout is. So each section of the magazine kind of has its own look to it. So that's the first page of this folklore. I guess this story from Baltic folklore called 100 Rabbits that someone had translated. And then if you go on, the next will be the Snow White Remythed. So that's the title page for that. And as I said, that goes on as a retelling of Snow White. Following page is actually the end of the magazine, just to give you an idea again of how visually rich it is, like so many of these magazines we see coming out, that Ethel Wolf from South Africa is doing. And then if you go on the title page for poetry and prose, and as I said, there's a lot here that follows of original poetry and some short stories. And then the recipes, a lot of recipes as well. I like that that's popping up in a lot of these magazines. WPQ does that as well. The following page will give you the layout of how they do the recipes. They have a bunch. I don't know, like 6 recipes in here. The next one shows you how that how it actually looks, how the recipes look. So that's how it's laid out, kind of like a cookbook. Again, very nicely done. My hat's off to these guys for the thought that goes into this, the visual layout. A few more that we'll show you guys. Again, let us know your feedback. Let us know if this is something that you would buy. I'd want to get that feedback back to these guys. Right now it is available in PDF, so we can pass that around to you, but they're looking to see if it makes sense to do print versions. So this is the first page of a little profile on Ethel Wolf, the gentleman who provided a lot of the imagery for this inaugural issue. The next image actually shows something. It looks like, I'm no expert, it looks like it was done maybe on digital, kind of computer art, but still has this very like mythic, mystical look to it. So it just shows you what you can do with computer art, but still have something that looks kind of timeless. So that gives you an idea of his aesthetic. Very cool stuff. The next one is actually the last page of a feature on a guy who's working in Canada. That actually, this is a guy making all of these pieces you see right in the here and now in the year 2020. Norse Arts, at Norse Arts on Twitter. So this is the final page of a short profile of this guy who does all of these beautiful pieces. But just goes to show you there are artisans and craftsmen out there that are making these beautiful pieces and selling their wares. So that gives you a little taste of what that magazine's all about, Europe and diaspora. So let us know in the comments or email me, as I said, what you think of what you're seeing. And if you want a PDF, I think I'm at liberty to share that with you. And please let us know if it's something you'd be interested in purchasing. I'm going to look up a little more information about it, but let us know if you have any questions. But that is a little teaser of yet another project. So many initiatives coming out of our people that are really well done, on a high caliber, high tier. A lot of thought and love goes into it. As we've been saying and continue to promote, this is a counterculture. This is the beginning of a cultural flowering. And so we're always pleased to share good work in that domain.
Yeah, precisely. And in fact, it's remarkable because what we were doing here is so revolutionary that it is often impossible for many folks to even see. And I was remarking with another gentleman in the white positive sphere. He's been in the white positive sphere for about 50 years. So he's been around for a long time and a participant, not just some sort of a person moving through and observing everything happening, but actually participating. And it's remarkable. We were talking about this. It's remarkable how, and it does affect folks of his age range, but it also affects folks who are young today. So it's not specific to a particular age range, although I know that in other parts or other spheres of the white positive sphere in general, you have these communities that want to besmirch and disparage particular age groups because they need somebody to blame so that they don't have to do anything aside from engage in really silly frog cartoons. And somehow to them, that means that change is happening when it's really just asinine and inept. But it's remarkable because even they can't see that what we are doing here and why we have so many folks that continue to say, like I just had a guy or a woman, I don't know who it is on the other end of this thing. Maybe it's both nowadays. Who the hell knows? But saying, well, what I want to know, can you believe this? What an insult to even ask this question. What the person says, well, what I would like to know is when are we actually going to start doing something? And what I wanted to say was, are you retarded? And by retarded, I mean brilliant, far more intelligent than the rest of us. And or are you just an ass who's trying to cause problems? Because how much more do we need to do than save lives? How much more do we need to do than produce lives? How much more do we need to do than to bring reams after reams of folks to an ideology that is a psychological defense for the psychological warfare that's being waged against us? So what you have a lot of the time, of course, if you just take the saboteurs and these provocateurs and this out of the business of the conversation that we're having here, and you leave everybody else behind, what you have are people who are simply unable to see. So we were talking last night. It's like there is more magic in the air today than there has ever been. And it's almost as though there are folks out there like all of you who are the apostles of this magnificent creed that is going to free our people of anti-whiteism and thereby enable them to access the great Western spirit inside of them and therefore enable our people to recapture our destiny. There are folks like us who are able to see this. And then there are others. So it's sort of like we can see the ghosts. We can see the magic today. Whereas these others, they simply cannot see it. They are purblind. They're dullards. They simply cannot see what is right in front of their faces. So they're waiting. They continue to look for something that is a form that they recognize. And until they see that form, nothing's happening. Nothing's being done. And if they see something that fits that form, well, then they just want to fly to those colors right away and give their money to it, give their time, give their energy. And so the reason this conversation came up was I was speaking with a gentleman, very bright gentleman, older gentleman, talking about the great successes that we are having here, a gentleman who could provide us with quite a bit of opportunity, resources, and the like. And the successes, even talking about global leaflet drops, which have never happened, and he knows this has never happened, certainly not from the bottom up, like we have had 9 states, 7 countries at the end of January, beginning of February. And essentially, he was saying, well, okay, so where's the successes? And all he's ever been a part of is this endorsement of folks who want to talk about politics, as though that's ever done a damn thing. It's never accomplished anything. Complaining about politics is as old as politics, and it's never done or accomplished anything for our people. We have solutions. We are making changes. We are the ones who are growing. We have people who are taking initiative. We have stimulated a soil in which, and we are feeding nutrients into this soil in which very talented people are coming together. They are planting their seeds in this nutrient-rich soil and bringing forth these beautiful creations. Now, some of them are going to flourish and be magnificent. Some will be not so magnificent. Others will fail. But the bottom line is that with things like this that Mr. George is talking about, this is more and more evidence of the growth of what we are creating, which begins with the defense against what is actually being used against us, and that is psychological warfare. And we have a psychological defense in going free. And then on top of the psychological defense of going free, we are feeding the arts, we are building culture, we are bringing people together in love for our people rather than the data, the stats of how awful the other groups are, and rather than just complaints, endless complaints, comical, cartoonish individuals with their complaints about politics or about XYZ. We have moved away from all of the silly ideas that have never accomplished anything and have always failed. And we continue to go in this direction, and we will be the ones who pass through the eye of this needle and, to mix the metaphor, go through the bottleneck and come out the other side stronger, brighter, healthier, more intelligent, more robust, more able to meet the challenge of other groups and other ideas out there that are used and have used and will continue to use our strengths and our weaknesses against us in the future. The day will come when you have a scenario like you had in this room where this man spoke up and said to the complaining anti-white, non-white person, why did you leave your country and come here to just complain endlessly, to white erase us, to want to change everything about our country? Why did you leave your country? And all of these women, all of these Herodins turned around screaming like banshees at this guy, because how dare he say something critical of a non-white person. The day will come when white man says something like this and every white woman in the room will agree with him. She will not fly to the aid of a non-white man who is there to replace, there to white erase, there to complain endlessly, this acerbic criticism that is poured on our people until everything falls apart, this endless white erasure. So that the women who come through that bottleneck, that's how they will behave. And those will be the ones that we write our poetry to and we read our poetry to on Valentine's Day. And I say to all of those women who are, the incipiently, these are the women who will be the thinkers, the ones that all of the women yet to come that they will attempt to imitate. They are the paragons and the paradigms for those women to come into the cause of white well-being, those who will survive. I say to all of those women, a very happy Valentine's Day to you. I hope you have all of the love you need and want in your life. And if you do not, that you will find it soon. And so I don't know how many questions we have, if we have any, but Mr. George, your thoughts on anything I had to say? I'll take a look. I know we had a few super chats come in. I just see that Annika has shown up. A big hello to you, dear lady. So let me check over here, Jared, and why don't you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, as Ash Donaldson has said, and he's been once on tap and once on After Hours, look at all of the amazing art from our world, from the European world, from the white world. And so much of that, the vast majority of that, is inspired, at least in some part, by our women. So look at that symbiotic relationship and look at what it inspires. That is something to keep in mind, something to be proud of for all of us. And I know a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we just showed you some pictures from that magazine. When you were speaking, Jason, I was in the chat a bunch, kind of taking some notes on. There was a lot of interest in the magazine, and I'm trying to tally people who are interested in the physical copies. Again, if we can get a few dozen, then they might do a print run, about $30, could be less, if more people get interested. But that's a pretty good price for an indie magazine that's over 100 pages long, a lot there. But I want to take a minute, if you'll indulge me, because even though a picture is worth 1,000 words, I want to read the last 2 paragraphs of the letter from the editor in that inaugural issue, just to kind of put the button on that topic of that magazine we were discussing, Europe and Diaspora, this new project that these guys are trying to...
Uh-oh. Oh, there he is.
Oh, did I go away?
Yes, you froze for a moment. Go ahead.
The trunk and the branches and this vision of this magazine, how it touches both on our individual, the ethno-cultures and their uniqueness, but then the overall overarching racial connection that we have, something that we need desperately to remember. So these are the last two paragraphs from the letter from the editor, the opening of this Europe and Diaspora magazine, just to get a little more into the head and heart of what's behind this. So we carried many stories over here with us. He's speaking about America as an American, and exchanged some as the centuries went by. Robin Hood, King Arthur, Little Red Riding Hood, Johnny Appleseed, Paul Bunyan, Baba Yaga, Bigfoot, Pecos Bill, Doc Holliday, the labors of Heracles, the works of Shakespeare, and much more. We built our own branch of our people's tree of life, creating a patchwork quilt of cultures in a land much like our own. From the Appalachians and the Cajuns to the Yankees and the Amish, from the cowboys in the West to the mariners in the North, we built a history and an identity to add to the beauty of what we brought here. The Irish, German, Swedish, Dutch, and many more European ethnic towns spot the landscape, again, speaking as an American. Europe is blood. It is a shared spirit, a collective fire, a connection deeper than the roots of trees, deeper than the most ancient of wells. It permeates and surrounds us. It will always rise, for it is in us. It emanates out from us and into the world. This is why I decided to create this magazine, to encompass not only the culture and heritage of those who still live in the lands of Mother Europa, but for those who have braved new lands and built a new culture and way. Within the lands and peoples that created the lands of liberty, the land down under, the great white north, and Patagonia, all of us have sprung from the same tree, the same core, the part of us that we can find again. We all deserve to embrace our cultures, those that continued in Europe and those that spread their wings and flew out to distant lands. Be proud of what was done, be proud of who you are, and most of all, cherish it. It is the most beautiful thing we have, and we must pass it on to those who come after us. So I think beautifully said, and beautifully wrapping up the idea that we're connected, and yet there are these cultures, as he said, all around the world. The Great White North in Canada, the Land of Liberty here in the States, down under in Australia, Patagonia, if any of you don't know, is in the southern cone of South America, where a lot of our people are. I'm glad he remembered that too. So beautiful sentiment, and that's what that magazine is about. So please do email me, hello@thegreatorder.com, if you'd like to preview it in PDF, and if you'd like to give them feedback on the magazine, and if you'd be interested in buying a physical copy. The feedback will help a lot. I'm trying to help these guys out, spearhead this project. As you can see, it is a very worthy, well-done endeavor.
I'm trying to get, that was fantastically written and read, good sir. I'm trying to see if I can get this on camera. I don't think it's really going to work, but at least everybody can see it for a moment. I have this is actually the bottle from, it kind of works there. I'm going to end up knocking it off, but I don't know if I can force that. Just
Is everybody getting in a romantic mood just seeing that flower in the bottle?
In the bottle. There it is. Well, just for a moment at least. Oh, I know what I can do. I can set it right over here. We do have some super chats. Well, we have a super chat. Oh, yes, we do, over on Entropy. Sky Chaser over here, and this is something we can speak to right away. It is a tulip. A spiteful mutant crusher asked about the flower. It is a tulip. Thank you for asking. And Annika says, favorite flower, Jared and Jason. Jared, do you have a favorite flower?
That's not something I think about often. I'd have to see like pictures of different types of flowers. I do like tulips.
Oh,
I do like tulips, and I've bought bulbs of tulips and then forgot to plant them. But I do like tulips. Yeah, we'll go with tulips for now. But I probably need to be a little well versed in all of the different varieties.
They're not. There's no aroma to them, but they are lovely to look at. So I guess to make this manly, you have to give your favorite flower, so it's tulip, and you also have to give your favorite firearm. So favorite flower and firearm. Those will be the. Maybe it doesn't have to be the best, your favorite of all time firearms, but any firearm that you like.
Oh, my dad actually got this recently. Is it Ruger? I forget. It's this new thing. I have to look it up.
Well, you can look it up if you want. A Ruger everything they make is nice.
Yeah.
Nothing. That's
Let me see if I could message him. He got something really cool recently.
Yes. Well, Daffodil is my favorite. If I had to be pressed, and the reason why is because when I was a child, very young, maybe, oh my Lord, like 5 or something like this, I planted some bulbs right in the middle of my parents' garden where they were growing food. And of course, they had no idea. And then they sprouted, and they continue to come up every year, even though the garden is long gone. But those flowers continue to come up out of the earth. Perhaps I will dig the bulbs up one day, and I will have them placed in my over my grave. If they continue to grow, it'll be marvelous. But and firearm, I'm gonna have to say, oh, well, let me make all of the old timers happy. I'll say a 1911. That's what I'll say. They're fun, so that'll be one of my favorites. We do have now. Watch all of the guys that are deep into guns. They're going to be cheering their heads off when they hear me say that. Sky Chaser over here has a very interesting statement with a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, and this is worth speaking to. $4.99, Sky Chaser. Thank you so very much. Writing as an incel, he says, Valentine's Day has never meant anything to me. Very sad to hear this. And of course, this is not Sky Chaser's fault by any means. I want to, I definitely am not one of those people who blame or mock people who are in the state that Sky Chaser finds himself. And I'd rather, it's a state of where our women have been led by the anti-whites and misled. So it's never meant anything to you. Well, give it a new meaning. And the meaning that I really give to Valentine's Day is a love for our people. And that is what and I tell this to all young men, that because so many of us are not going to be chosen by women. A great percentage of us are not going to be chosen by women until those women have gone out and they've had their fun. And now they've decided, well, they're not going to get the guy with the prettiest face or what have you. And then they turn back to these guys and they say, well, we'll have you now. And much later in life, that's a reality. There's no denying that. And any woman who tries to deny that is just lying. It's all around us. So what I tell young men is what I have done. And I believe this is the only right thing to do. Young men make the error. And, we're going to be talking about love here today on a Valentine's show. Young men make the error of loving women with the wrong kind of love. The love that you see in the movies, the love that you see in the books, on the TV shows, where the guy is willing to die for the love for the woman. He just to win her heart. He's willing to throw himself on the train tracks. That is Bravo Sierra. That love that inspires poem after poem after poem after poem to be this sycophantic, servant-like loser and throw himself at her feet, throw his jacket in the mud. Forget about that. That's a love that is intended for your people. That is a love that is not meant for a human being, because a human being, no matter how wonderful they are, they're fallible. And we know that women in this sphere, service to white well-being, that there are women who are angels and there are women who are demons. And there are a great many more who are somewhere in between, just like guys. And when you love a human being with that kind of love, you are setting yourself up, without doubt, 100%, to have your heart ripped out of your chest. because she's a human being and she's going to do something awful. She's going to not give a damn about your feelings. She's going to, I mean, this is the reality of the world. The only thing that's worthy of that sort of love is the spirit of the West. That's unchanging. That will never lie to you. That will never cheat on you. It will never leave you. It will never divorce you when she decides that she's bored with you now, and now she wants to move on to a new guy. Such a norm nowadays. And of course, this is not to say that there aren't men out there who are absolute scumbags. We can talk about that too. But we're speaking to this particular individual's comment. So when you're a young man and you have this great love and you want to give it to something, give it to something that deserves it. And that's the spirit of the West. It's unchanging. And it will, the more you love it, the more it will love you back. It will well up from within inside of you. It'll never be late. It'll never be out with the girlfriends and XYZ happens here or there. And you should just take it because you're a man. You can put up with it because you're a man and you can suffer and you're expendable. That's what society teaches everyone about our men, particularly in what matters here for us as white males. So it's okay. It doesn't matter how much your feelings are hurt in this process. Don't love women with that kind of love. You reserve another kind of love for a woman. If this idea that you'll write 1,000 poems, or if you want to write a poem for a woman, so be it. A poem, if you want to, if you're writing poem after poem, you are a loser. If you are throwing your jacket in the mud so that she can walk through over your jacket through the mud, you're a loser. She will use you and then she'll move right on, because down deep what she wants is a man, not a sycophantic bitch. And a man does not do these sorts of things. And furthermore, don't ever let her tell you, if you're men out there of all ages, don't ever let a woman define what a man is for you. The only reason she would ever open her mouth to define what a man is to manipulate you. Only a man can say what a man is. A woman can say, I agree with that, and maybe what about this or what about that or whatever, but she can't tell you as a man what a man is. So, when you come to that mud in the road or what have you, the smart thing to do, if you want her to want you, is ask her to throw her jacket down into the mud and laugh about it. That's how you get her to want you. And then when you want to do something romantic, do it when she doesn't expect it. When she's not thinking this is the time that you're supposed to do X, Y, or Z. Because when you do things when you're supposed to do it, you're just being a loser. Surprise her with that poem if you want to write a poem on a day when she doesn't expect it. Surprise her with the flowers on a day that she doesn't expect it. Not when she demands it of you. Because if you give in to that, then her eye is going to wander, rest assured. And young women out there, I know you might feel like it's, you want to be able to define what a man is, and you want that man to act in a servile way to you. But I tell you this, as soon as you have that, you'll wish you didn't. And you can ask all of the other women whether or not that is the case. So thank you very much, Sky Chaser. Very sad testament there. Valentine's Day for you, my friend, should be a love for our people, and never for some love out there that you hope to find at some point in the future. Now, when you do get a woman that you do indeed love, now that is when you build a relationship with someone, and that is the kind of situation like you can have such love and such connection with that person that you would push them out of the way of the train and sacrifice yourself for them. But good God, don't have that sentiment when you're out there looking for a woman. You'll never get anybody except for somebody that'll use you like a loser. Jared, do you have any thoughts on Sky Chaser or any other comments that are going by in the live chat as we speak?
I guess generally, our circles and all of this discourse online, and part of this relates to the manosphere and the red pill, but specifically in terms of figuring out the biology of how men and women work and all of that. It is a two-edged sword, I would say, and I would caution people against getting too robotic about all of this, because I have seen people, a lot of whom probably have never even had a healthy relationship, say all these things like women are programmed to do this and men are programmed to do that. And while it does help to know some of these fundamental truths about our animal nature, it's certainly a big slab of the ingredient of the recipe. It's an ingredient in the recipe. We're people of developed consciousness, and I'm interested in holistic development. Some of the Hell videos about that. So while these things are true, there are people functioning on different layers, and some people have more things lit up in them than others. So my experience has not always been what I see out there, and I sometimes get a little concerned that people are developing this very clinical approach to things. There is still magic and mystery in relationship, and there are ways that you can both lead and serve each other in symbiotic ways, and ways that, yes, dovetail with your basic masculine and feminine nature. But I would caution against people getting too into a paint by numbers thing, just because it's great to acknowledge and great to be armed with some of that basic information and the biological information. But to me, just from my perspective, it's not the whole picture. Sometimes it crosses a threshold and gets into territory that is a little clinical and cynical. And there are those out there who might have a purely scientific approach. I have no interest in getting on a stream and debating with people. If you think that we're just more sophisticated apes and it's just about rewards and this and that and status, I have no interest in debating you. I know the way I live my life. I know the experiences that I've had, and I've had the juiciness and the mystery and the romance, and it's an amazing thing to experience. So if this is flying over your head and you think I'm being a simp, then so be it. If this is resonating with you, then it's for you, and you go live your life in that poetic way. But I don't know. I don't always jive with some of this stuff I see about men and women online.
Well, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The answers to love and relationships. Right.
I don't know if I gave any answers, but I'm just here to put my stake in the ground as a perspective. And if it resonates with you, it resonates with you.
Well, we had a great comment that just came up, and we'll get to the rest of these statements. And folks, if you want to talk about anything, it could be a relationship, it could be this news, it could be the coronavirus and what's happening there. And I actually do have some thoughts on it now that some more information is coming out that is a bit more reliable or credible. Western Crusader, though, writes, my brother is a prime example of this. No white guilt. He had a $250,000 bank vice president job, did laundry, cooked meals, cleaned the house, and let her go anywhere she wanted. She left him, took his house and their child. That's exactly. Thank you, Western Crusader, for jumping in with that testimony about.
Yeah, that's silly. That's silly.
That is. Don't ever, guys. If you live your life like that, she's going to be looking elsewhere. She's going to be looking for the guy who's going to act like a man, and that's not a guy who's going to mistreat her. Don't think that. Those are what all of these charlatans out there that make themselves a lot of money selling these books about how to hook up and all of this sort of garbage. And as I've said many times before, these things are despicable. You should never give any of these people any money. And I don't know, if you have in the past, maybe find a way to get your money back or to sue them or whatever you want to do to get your revenge on somebody who has fleeced you to make another Lamborghini payment and make their lives better. Because all they do in their books and their recommendations is teach you how to prey on women who are in a vulnerable state, which is an absolutely despicable thing to do. It is wretched behavior. And those guys, I mean, I tell you, if imagine this being your sister or some female that you are related to or care about, that was preyed upon by one of these people, trained by one of these jackasses. I can tell you how I might respond if I came face to face with one of those people. But thank you very much, Western Crusader. Yes, guys, do not behave like that. And here's the bottom line, gentlemen. You need to hear it, and you know you're going to get the cold, hard truth from No White Guilt, and that is this: ladies decide whether or not you are going to get to date, whether or not you are going to get to have sex, whether or not you're going to get married, and when that's going to happen. They decide. And if you are not willing to take a woman who is several rungs, maybe many rungs down the ladder from you in looks, then you better just go ahead and give all your attention to White Wellbeing and wait until she comes along. There is nothing that you can do. And maybe such a woman never comes along. There is nothing that you can do. Not writing her poetry, not painting her paint. If you ever do that to win a woman's hand, she has accepted you as a servant. So she is going to decide to want to be with you based on how much of a man you are in her eyes. And if you are not one of those pretty boys, if you're one of those pretty boys, then they're getting everybody. So otherwise, if you're not one of those guys, you better just be a man and accept whether you are being chosen or not, and live your life heroically, because that will give your life meaning. This is the exact opposite of all of these guys who are these men going their own way, garbage and all of this. That is throwing your life away. That's pissing it away for nothing. So instead, be a man, do the right thing, and we will throw our arms around you here.
Yeah, you need to be on your own adventure, and she comes with you on your adventure, not make her the adventure, the quest. That's the subtle but important difference. It doesn't mean that when you have someone where you have a true partnership that you don't honor and celebrate the other person. I like to celebrate the people in my life, romantic relationships and otherwise. You know, it could be my family members, it could be my friends. I like surprising them. I like getting them gifts. I like planning little surprises for them. I get like a kid, I get a thrill out of that. I would never not want that in a romantic relationship. It's who I am with anyone I care about in my life. But when you have a direction as a man, and you know what you're doing in the world, and you have that focus and that drive, and then she respects that and she kind of comes along with it. I think that might be what you're saying, Jason, or my way of interpreting what I'm hearing with the whole just being subservient and the proverbial throwing the coat down on the mud is too much, making her the means and the end, the whole thing. And you have your direction, you have your mission, and then if that's established, there's a whole other context there, because then she's joining you for that, and you're joining forces with that, and she supports you in that. That's a whole different context than just you don't have anything else, and it's only about this putting her on a pedestal. You know, so I think it's about what else is going on in your life.
Yeah.
Huge difference, that context.
Yeah. Probably, I mean, we're going to take that comment about the throwing the jacket in the mud. If she throws, if we approach the mud and you say, well, you're going to throw your jacket in the mud, dear, and she does, then you pick her up and you carry her across the mud on her jacket. That's how it should be done, ladies. But also, yeah, ladies, in my advice, I'll give it again, for you young women out there, don't have sex with guys randomly. By no means. Go out and interview guys that are on your level of looks. I know it's going to be tempting. I know everybody's got a cell phone, and you don't have to worry about all of the needs and the wants and the things that are in life, because it's just in abundance. It's just flowing out like honey all around you. I know you don't have to worry about those things, and so it's easy to get focused on his face, how pretty he is, and how he has all the features that you wish you had on your face. I know you can get focused on that, but do your best to ignore that, because you're going to be a lot happier if you do. He'll have you, for a time. Those guys will have you for a time, and then they will move right on. And probably while they're having you, they're having another one another two at the same time. And then they're going to move on, and you're going to become misandristic. You're going to become a man hater because of it. So instead, interview guys. And I don't say court, because I know somebody said, why don't you say court? Well, I don't say court because it sounds like I'm, from Victorian era. I interview, go out on dates with guys that are on your level of looks, and interview men who are great for fatherhood, being husbands, providers, that'll stick around. And don't have sex with them during that period, because that will make it difficult to actually see the truth through all of the sexual desire. And then marry him. Don't wait until you are what is that called, like elderly primipara, elderly multipara. Don't wait until the doctors are writing that on your papers about when you get pregnant, or you're trying to get pregnant. Do it earlier in life, and you'll live a happier life for it. Of course, that doesn't mean that if it happens later in life, it can't be happy. But we have history coming down to us of great successes, far more than all of these wild experiments that are going on today. So that's a bit of advice for you ladies. Another piece of advice, or is it geriatric? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, Annika says it's geriatric. Geriatric primipara, geriatric multipara. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. One other piece of advice is, if you're out with me, don't ever get behind me, because for some reason, every time I have a woman get behind me, I turn around, all her clothes are gone. So just never, some kind of piece of magic happens. Never be behind me, because you'll find yourself naked by the time I turn around. Just, it's a strange thing, happens a lot to me. Stony Adornish gives us a sticker that says, keep it up, and has $5. So it's a $5 sticker. I hope that money ends up not just with Google, but I don't think I ever figured out whether, or if anybody did, whether or not the sticker money passes through like regular super chats. Let's see, we have Edgar Allan Poe, the great Edgar Allan Poe. Thank you for being here. Wonderful participant in this community, saying, only important question, how can we use Valentine's Day to help our friends and family and strangers go free? Brilliantly asked, and you have your finger right on the nerve of all things that are important, good friend. You are definitely going free adroitly, and I commend you for that. Jared, did you have any thoughts to that you'd like to speak to first?
I was just in the chat. Use Valentine's Day to go free.
To help friends and family go free. What kind of subject matter perhaps can we bring up? I would just say, and I'll start off the conversation that you
well, two quick things, the advertisements, and then of course how important choosing a mate is, and continuing the line and all that. Yeah, those are the two immediate thoughts.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we're seeing it being Valentine's Day, all of these adverts with promoting white erasure, and what a great opportunity to talk about that, because you'll talk about loving our people, you'll talk about wanting to preserve our people, you'll never allow vagues or anti-whites, but vagues are what's most important, because those are the ones you're helping to go free. Those are the ones you're helping to come over. You will never allow them to box you in to this, aren't you this ugly antagonist in the story because you have something gross to say, something objectionable to say about non-white people. No, your objection to these unions, the promotion of these unions, is that it results in white erasure, biological white erasure. Every time you see it, you refer to it as white erasure. There's more white erasure. I know there are ugly terms for it. I know there are all of these. I know there are sophisticated terms for it. Call it white erasure. That's exactly what it is. It's biological white erasure, and it is a fantastic opportunity to talk about the love of our people and how you want to preserve what has been handed down to you, how it is your duty to do that, and how it is disgraceful to do otherwise. That's a great thing that one can do during Valentine's Day in these conversations. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jared, but we can move on to the other super chats.
Sounds good. Let's move on.
We have Roy Danton over here on Entropy, the great Roy Danton. doing double duty now that he is also modding for us. Thank you, good friend. It's $30 on Entropy, and writing here, I would absolutely love to purchase a print version of that magazine. It looked really awesome. So there you have some testimony, Jared. And
oh, yes, there's several others who feel that way. I've been trying to note it, but thank you very much for the feedback.
Yes, thank you very much, Roy. We also have Dissident Agnostic over here on Entropy, $25. Thank you so much, dear friend. Should the white positive sphere do more to expose the relationship between corporate multiracialism and anti-white rhetoric? Jared, would you like to take that first?
Well, I think we're doing that all the time, and people are doing that in the comments on YouTube and Twitter. Most of the people who are imbibing in this stuff every day know that all of this is an artifact of, the woke capital thing, playing to just what is in, trendy right now, good for the corporations, and also that in a larger sense, I don't know if everyone making decisions at least on the lower rungs of the advertising are aware of this, but the bigger game, of course, is the less people have their identity, the easier they are to be consumers, malleable consumers. There's nothing going on in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who is showing up to streams like this every week, I think we're all pretty well versed in that. So I think that it really just becomes a matter of how you communicate that with the outside people, with other people who aren't in the fold yet. And one good thing to do is to make them feel like they're being duped. No one likes to feel like they're being duped, like they're having the wool pulled over their eyes. So a way to gently begin to move someone in this direction is when they don't see anything wrong with this kind of advertising, or they see these trends. They don't really, they don't want to say anything, as Jason was saying, against another people, because that's such like this ultimate moral evil in our day and age, is to say, no, it's, this is really a bait and switch. It's really about this. They want you to feel like this is a moral crusade, but you're really just a pawn of these companies that want you to buy their product. And if you begin to take that tack, that works with a certain kind of person that doesn't want to feel like they're being duped, that they're just being a stooge of these corporations. So that is a path that you can take, and I think people have had some success with, especially if you have like a stubborn personality type person in your life that feels like, they don't like to be told what to do and all that, and you kind of show them they're being duped. Could be very effective.
Yeah, I think that really speaks all that needs to be said to that subject. We do, when you get an opportunity at any point when speaking with those you're trying to help go free, mentioning the connection, showing and demonstrating the connection between corporate multiracialism and the anti-whiteism doctrine, that of course is the superset that contains all of these subsets that we never use, all of these names that we never use because only idiots use them. You never refer to people as Democrats or leftists or any of those names of their taking. They are all anti-white, even if you think that there might be some gray area there, and well, maybe they are not completely anti-white, and maybe it's just they have this ideology. No, just shut up. We want to survive. We want to recapture our destiny. That means we have to get rid of all of that stupidity. We have to just get rid. We have too many thousands of folks now. When I was speaking earlier in many years past, I was much more, I guess, because of it was necessary to tolerate folks who were behaving this way, who would use this verbiage, and I would tolerate it because we didn't have a great many thousands of people now who are going free and having tremendous success. We are now the measure of success, and we don't have to tolerate people using this idiocy anymore. We just tell them, no, you cannot win the 100-meter dash if you run backwards. You are an idiot. You need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to set the blocks just right. You need to get used to the gun going off. You need to the starting pistol going off. You need to get used to coming out of the hole. You need to get used to building up to full speed. You need to get used to maintaining that speed once you reach it, and throwing your arms and all of this. We just need to tell them what works and not tolerate this stupidity anymore, because there's no more time for that. We have, for example, and I'll just very briefly speak to it, something that I've been talking about for the past 2 years, when people say, well, how are we going to take back our destiny? How will this come together? And I've explained over and over that in this societal context, there is no way. But that doesn't mean there will never be a way. And in fact, that we can grow our strength through numbers, through liquidity, through connections, through intelligence, etc. And we can help to put our shoulder into societal context and help to shift it so that opportunities become available that we can't imagine, and then take advantage of those opportunities. Same thing I've said whenever I talk about this. I say that there can be events that can change the societal context and open up opportunities for us that we're not currently available to us. What do we see going on all around us? We see events right now that are demonstrating their potential to shift societal context for us. There may be new opportunities as societal context shift takes place. We need to be ready to take advantage of those. We're not going to be ready to take advantage of those by saying dumbass things like Christophobic and those sorts of things. We need to be advancing white well-being as rapidly as we can, helping people go free as rapidly as we can, so that when these opportunities become available to us, we have the strength, the speed, the ability, and the courage to take advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves to us. Now, we have right now, with this epidemic, and I guess on the verge of becoming pandemic, coronavirus. And there's a lot of news coming out about what's taking place. But we've seen now a lot of video coming out of China. Some of it obviously is fraudulent. Some of it is real. But the Chinese shutting down their economy is very real. The Chinese shutting down whole cities is very real. Welding doors shut and this sort of thing, very real, even though we have to ask YouTube if it's true and ask Snopes if it's true and CNN, because everything that we say here is not true. Only what YouTube says is true is real. But these sorts of things are coming out. And that means that there is far more concern in China for how deadly and infectious this disease is than is being reported. And there is a lot of potential for great instability, economic instability in particular, as China's businesses, a percentage of which only have enough liquidity to survive having everything shut down for a short amount of time. Now, a lot of these businesses do business with the rest of the world, India, United States, Europe, etc. If they go under, all of these little widgets and pieces for motors and all of this garbage that comes out of China, because it's so cheap because of the slave labor, won't be available. That will have a set. They're going to begin looking other places. We have that, and we have anti-whites who are coming into a state of absolute psychosis, drunk with power. And we have things like this SAS commercial being put together saying that white people create nothing. It's all just stolen from the rest of the world. They're just thieves. This is the anti-white narrative. This is the kind of thing that is going to wake people up. But as I pointed out on PWR, there's something more important that's happening with the SAS commercial and others like it that the anti-whites are putting together. Not just the blatantness of the anti-whiteism that is going to shock our people into awareness and have them begin to rescind their loyalty from the government, from university, alma maters, etc. But the more important point is that anti-whiteism, the anti-white narrative, is dependent on the white male in particular, but white people in general, being seen as all-powerful, omnipotent. And so any amount of harm that you can do is not going to be enough harm to inflict that on them. And the non-white peoples, and then all of these other grievance groups out there, like homosexual groups, etc., people who don't know what sex they are, what have you, that they all are all victims, all victimized, never victimize her. With these sorts of demonstrations of power, saying that white people coming from governments in the West, the biggest international corporations, saying that white people are nothing but thieves, it shatters the anti-white narrative. And the anti-white narrative is critical to keeping so many white people, particularly white women, as raving lunatics in defense of all of the innocent, long-suffering non-white peoples of the world. That anti-white narrative is the reason why all of those women at that school board meeting shrieked at that man. How dare he say, why don't you go back to the country you came from? Why did you ever come here if everything is so horrible that you want to change everything to reflect how it is just right back at home? That narrative is what causes these women to behave this way. They are manipulated by the anti-whites, and the anti-whites, now drunk with their power, are destroying that narrative that enables them to manipulate so many of our women. These are societal context shifts. Now, are we going to be ready to take advantage of them? Are we going to be ready to take advantage of them by playing around with cartoon frogs? Are we going to be ready to take advantage of them with mockery? Are we going to, and this psych nationalism? Are we going to be ready to take advantage of these opportunities by these outrageous, idiotic, and illegal discussions about civil war and secession? Are we going to be ready to take advantage of these opportunities by cravening out into the countryside and living in a hole in the ground? No, we are not going to be able to take advantage of these opportunities with any of those methods. We are going to have to go free, and we're going to have to help everyone around us to go free as rapidly as we can, because I am not going to have a "I told you so" scenario. That means we still lose. If I have to turn around and say to the white population of the world, "I told you so," that is an excuse on my part. And I'm not the kind of person that gives excuses for failure. We are going to get out there and we are going to make it happen. And you all need to be. I know that most of you are. So the ones that are already not the kind of folks who give excuses for failure, not talking to you, everyone else who needs to step up their game to that level. There is no excuse that's going to be good enough. There is no, I told you it should have gone this way. I told you we should have behaved this way. None of that is good enough. Winners do not make excuses. Winners do not say, I should have done X, Y, Z, or it would have been done next week. And, oh, well, it failed, but I was setting up to do it next week. No, the winner says, I screwed up and it should have been done ahead of time. We're going to be the people who are doing it ahead of time, making it happen. So thank you very much for that. And we have Ryan over here saying all he needs to say on entropy with a $5 super chat on entropy. Thank you very much, dear friend. And we do have a question that I think I'll give a very brief answer, and I'll pass it over to Jared George because this is more his wheelhouse in the question widget. Red Eagle asked a question that two of them only, I'll read one. The other one is not a serious question. The one here is, why do our myths make the fair maiden the reward for killing the dragon, giant, or org? I would say that the fair maiden represents the beauty, security, and peace of our people. It's not a woman. And people who are looking at this and thinking that, well, we did this, he fought and risked his life repeatedly again and again and again, just so he could have this woman at the end. Give me a break. You know what would happen? If that's what really happened in the real world, she would be cheating on him in a year or two with a guy who was actually acting like a man rather than a servant. But now these stories, though, they have many textures to them. They were written in many different contexts and by many different authors. And each one of these fairy tales, in fact, have been written and rewritten and altered and contributed to by a great many of our people over the years. And so there are a great many more layers there to tease out. So I'll pass it over to Jared George, and I'll see what other questions or super chats we have here on the other computer. Jared George.
Yeah, especially if you have questions or comments about love and romance, Valentine's Day theme. Well, certainly, I'll just briefly say there are layers to myth. So you could see it as the piece on the collective level when the dragon is defeated and order is restored, when something was disrupting the order in the society, in the collective. And there's also something inner where confronting fear, dealing with some part of yourself that is chaotic, some part of yourself that is unconscious. And then there's an inner alchemy that gets you to this higher state. But there's also the middle ground where more literally, if you have done that kind of work in both of the ways I just described, if you're, as I was saying earlier, doing your work in the collective, doing your heroic work to contribute to the community, or they're usually related, doing something inner so that you're the best version of yourself and you're confronting those unconscious parts of yourself, then yes, there will be outward flesh and blood day-to-day manifestations of that, like having a balanced relationship, like when you're the best version of yourself, attracting a partner that is a good complement to that. So we can read it on all those different kinds of levels, certainly, Jason. Were there more chats or questions now?
We do have Mike Anderson earlier said that No White Guilt has a big heart in the background.
He does.
He says, yes, I do. Thank you so much for that. I was just going to say, when it comes to the guy slaying the dragon or the orc or the what is it, the giant or whatever it is, you know, if you are a man and you see these stories and you conclude that this is the way you should behave for a woman, I'll just tell you this: instead of concluding that it's a societal thing, the love that you get that is represented by the woman is the love of our people shining back at you. It's to teach the heroism. And if I were to carry what I was saying earlier, my metaphor earlier, that, or, you know, she's going to end up cheating on you if you view it this way. The guy that she's going to end up cheating on you with is going to be the guy who slays dragons for fun. That's going to be the guy who she leaves for. The guy who went and risked his life to slay the dragon to save her, that's just some guy that she's going to use until she's tired of him. And her eye's always going to be cast over the hill to the guy who is slaying dragons for the hell of it. And she'll go worship at his altar. So thank you for the big hard comment. Let's see, Justin Lee has a comical statement here. His 15-year-old pit bull, border collie, doesn't understand her European heritage. Well, what's funny about this, I think, is that it's kind of likening the stupidity of a dog, or the short-sightedness of a dog relative to a human, to these white people who can't understand the importance of their heritage, of their biospirit, and they're willing just to piss it away in order to villainy signal, or to even worse, try to escape who and what they are by taking a non-white person as mate. You know what I wanted to say also about earlier is that, you know, now we have a great many thousands of folks who are going free, serving white well-being. And so we don't have to tolerate people who are saying stupid things anymore. We can tell them to not run backwards on the track. I'll tell you all this. There are other things that we have to reveal. And we're not in the numbers yet to reveal such things. But when we get to those points, I will be sharing more things with you all. And so just know that this goes a lot deeper than what we have talked about heretofore. And I do want to mention that if you are looking for love, that you should look no further than Liv's whitedate.net, as remembered here by the great Mr. George, who has a mind for all things at all times. Liv, a great friend of our community.
No, someone in the chat reminded me.
Okay, well, then good on that person. Thank you very much. Yes, Liv is a great member, participant in our community, doing wonderful things. She has a beautiful baby girl right now, and she's doing magnificently. Both of them are the future princess of our people, and the lovely Liv doing wonderfully, and we're very happy to know them, have them in our community. We love them both. Whitedate.net. And remember, though, you have to do your due diligence when you meet somebody over whitedate.net or over Nat Connect or whatever. It is up to you to make sure that these folks that you're speaking with are legitimate. And whatever that might mean. I mean, you can come into our live chat here on the threads and you can ask folks what's a good way to know that the person I'm talking with is legitimate, is not some anti-white just trying to get information out of me, wanting to dox me or whatever it might be. One of the ways that I will just share with you, I mentioned earlier, and this goes directly to this new term that we came up with, this blow fishing, is, ladies, if the guy shows up and he's much better looking than you, men already know this. If a woman shows up and she's much better looking than us and she's acting interested, we know something is amiss. Something is not quite right. So, ladies, you need to take a lead from the men in this case. And you too, if the man who shows up and he's saying wonderful, all the right things, and he's much better looking than you are, this is somebody who is looking to dox you, who's looking to compromise you, who's looking to engage in this blow fishing, which of course is when an anti-white shows up. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, use this terminology, use this lexicon. When an anti-white shows up and they're pretending to be some handsome man, some dark-featured man, and the guy that all the girls want nowadays, and he says the right things to you, and he's out of your league. This is a setup. They are there to compromise you. They've been doing this. The anti-whites have been doing this for years, and we want to protect you from this sort of thing. Too many of our women have suffered from it. They end up engaging in maybe very private sort of discussions, sharing private pictures, and then once they've done this, the anti-white turns around, reveals that he or even she behind the pictures of the handsome man is not really the handsome man in the pictures, and that if they continue to participate in the white positive sphere, if they in any way, not as a content producer, to just a participant, just an observer commenting and agreeing and etc., if they continue in any way, the anti-white will reveal all that they know about them, pictures, lewd conversation, etc. Do not fall for this, ladies out there. So that is the big tip that I can give you when it comes to blow fishing and the threat out there. But otherwise, whitedate.net is a wonderful place, and we have had people who have met the people that they are dating and getting ready to marry, right, Jerry?
Babies have been born.
Correct. So
because of whitedate.net. And if you want to support both of us, you can go to the support and donate page on the afterparty.tv. You'll notice a White Date link there. We have, Jason and I, a shared affiliate account because Liv set it up that way. So we can get a little bit if you go through our link and you sign up to whitedate.net.
Indeed. And we have Sky Chaser just super chatted $4.99. Thank you so much. And this time writing, thank you for your answer. I have some pretty serious issues and have been dealing with depression ever since I can remember, and I'm almost 30. Listen, Sky Chaser, if you don't have Go Free, you need Go Free. You could still get it for $2.99. We're not quite up to the 299 downloads. We're getting close, though. You can get it for Kindle. You can read it on any machine as long as you can get the Kindle app. And as far as I know, it works on every machine out there. Get the Kindle app, get Go Free. If you get it on Kindle, you'll be able to get all of the new second edition, new iterations. So it's iteration 1. There'll be new iterations with verbiage like blow fishing on it. You want to focus on right away. You want to focus on the MPs that you are infected with. Put your thoughts and energy into this. This will, and we've had so many people already who have suffering with depression, other sorts of maladies, people taking psychotropic drugs. And remember, if your doctor has prescribed a medication for you, stay on that medication until you speak with them. And if you are in a place because you're treating your MPs and you think you can begin to wean off of this, do so with your doctor's help. And because I say this, we are having people successfully weaning down on very powerful psychotropic drugs. Where else is that happening? It's not. It's not happening with idiots that are running around with little frog cartoons. It's happening here. So start addressing your mean pathogen infection. Put your energy into this. Start focusing on the issues inside of yourself. This is what matters. Out there doesn't matter right now. You're not going to be able to fix the women around you. I gave up a long time ago. You're not going to be able to fix them. You just worry about how to improve yourself, how to serve white well-being. There is something inside of you that is timeless, that is priceless, that is more valuable than anything in the universe, and it is the spirit of the West. You can tap into that. You don't have to feel down. You don't have to be low. You are a glorious person. You have the greatest heroes, the greatest achievers, doctors, thinkers, scientists, poets, them all run through your veins as a member of Western kind. Once you treat your MPs, once you begin this process, you'll begin to hear that voice, that capital V voice of the spirit of the West will begin speaking to you as well. And you will feel better for it all of your life, and starting in little ways, but growing exponentially will begin to do better as others are experiencing here. Stress, you can look no further than if you want to know whether or not this is true, look no further than all of the medical literature everywhere on planet Earth that talks at length about the deleterious effects of stress on every aspect of your being, your physical, your mental, your spiritual being. Stress is acid for every aspect of your life. It is eating away everything in your life. And there's nothing more stressful than these MPs that you are living by in your subconscious mind. You need to address these first. Once you begin to get this under control, you will then see the world in a much clearer light. You will understand women and how they are, generally speaking, how they are being manipulated by anti-whiteism. Things will be a lot clearer for you. You'll be more at peace with yourself. Maybe it means that you'll be one of us that dedicate his life to the service to white well-being. You're not chosen by a woman in life, but you are not missing out, because those who are doing the choosing are very unwell right now. They are sick with mean pathogens. They are sick with anti-whiteism. There are too few of them out there who are well. So you are not, your value is not determined by whether or not one of these unwell people are choosing you. So know that we love you and that your life has infinite value, whether or not one of these miserable people chooses you or not. But also know this, that as the world becomes clearer for you, your ability to find a mate will increase, because you'll be able to understand where that person is coming from, understand what's undermining their thinking, understand what's motivating their thinking. So you may well have a destiny ahead of you right now, as you begin going free, where you find a lovely woman, you marry, and you have a great many children. Certainly as a man, you have many years to go, and to have your own biological children, but of course you could also adopt as well, and those children are still your blood if you are adopting white children. And that's what I ask you to do. There should never be a white child that is on the market for more than 1 second when it comes to adoption. So this is what I say to you, Sky Chaser. Thank you very much. And to everyone out there who is in Sky Chaser's similar scenario, you have this infinite value inside of you. I want you to realize it, and I want you to tap into it and make something of yourselves. You don't have to continue down this road of being unwell, and definitely reject MGTOW, and all. Your life will end in misery if you go down. There's nothing good will come of that. You have to dedicate. Your life has something calling for it. It's the thing that gave it life. And if you don't answer that call, if you don't answer that summons, if you think you're going to fill it with video games and beer and saving up for a car that's a little bit nicer, you are sorely mistaken. You're going to end up just like all of these women who listened to the siren call of this anti-whiteist doctrine called feminism, who ended up now at the ends of their lives with nothing. They went on all the cruises. They had all the sex partners. They bought all the jewelry for themselves. They surrounded themselves with this disgusting term, fur babies, and they hate themselves. They hate their lives. That's where every one of you are going to end up in MGTOW if you head down that road, or any of those other similar men going their own way road. You need to dedicate your life to the thing that gave you life, and you will have infinite value. as a consequence. So thank you so much. And we just had another super chat come in, and I'll read it before Jared takes over. Master Rebel super chatting 750. Is this Swedish krona? I don't even know what this is. Tell me what this occurrency is. Writing, I work at a ski resort and I see so many happy white families there. It gives me so much hope. Well, thank you so much for that testimony. That's magnificent. I would love to every day see these wonderful white families walking through the ski resort and
Icelandic krona.
Icelandic krona. Well, beautiful. Thank you. So is that Jared? I think that's our first Icelandic.
Yeah,
krona.
I was asking actually. I was asking in the chat, not knowing that was going to be the next super chat you got to.
Wow,
that was right, and then you started saying it, and that's funny because a couple nights ago I had a dream. No joke, I had a dream that I was in Iceland.
really?
Maybe I need to go. If Iceland keeps coming up, we'll see.
So do we have?
Yeah, here's our first from Iceland. That's very cool.
Yes.
And good to hear about the ski resort.
Oh yeah,
nice and wholesome.
It does sound wholesome.
Wholeness. We seek to be whole here.
Exactly. And talking about whole, if you haven't seen Jared George's video on the word hail over on Red Ice, you need to do so. It is a magnificent video. Do so right after we finish here. You're going to get a superb education. You're going to be inspired. I was having chills by the end. Henrik and Jared did such a magnificent job. And it's just a little bit of time. It doesn't take long to watch it either. So make sure you catch that if you haven't yet.
Under 7 minutes.
Under 7 minutes.
But yeah, it just goes to show there's spiritual, esoteric threads in our people's story too. It's not just Amerindians and East Asians. And that is what we've been led to believe, and it's ridiculous.
Right.
Take this stuff back and mine all the riches from our own traditions.
Precisely.
And, yeah, I've got a lot of good comments. Some people commented that the Roman equivalent is Ave, as in Ave Maria, like Hail Mary, Ave Maria. And I had been looking for other equivalents from other parts of Europe, so I'm glad that people pointed that out. If there are enough nuances to Ave and the Ave blessing, maybe I'll eventually do a video about that as well.
Well, yeah, please do. That would be. I'm very interested. I don't know anything about it. I see here something about D Live. Is D Live the whole website down, or is it just my channel? I won't be surprised if they have taken down the channel. I see here another.
I'm refreshing it right now in my tab.
We have Master Rebel with another Icelandic krona 300. Where can one find based and reliable females? Well, don't. My advice there, and thank you for these questions that deal with relationships. Everyone out there who's giving those questions and making those comments, because that's really, it is, of course, Valentine's Day tomorrow, and we are in a mood for love. I know I will be giving all of my loving energy to our people. And I hope that you all will do the same. If you do have a partner, husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or what have you, and you're giving them that love, make sure that when you do give them that love, that it is with the intent. Really fill it with the intent of love for our whole people. That person in front of you, that person that you care so much about, is the avatar for our people in that moment. They are not any less valuable. Remember here, ladies and gentlemen, the whole is the individual is the whole. We don't have this false dichotomy that they have in the anti-white narrative, where they say one ideology sacrifices the individual for the whole and the other one sacrifices the whole for the individual. Doesn't happen here. That is a false dichotomy of the anti-white narrative. That's how they have ruined us as a people. The individual and the whole is the exact same thing. So what I would say very briefly here, and we're not going to be on for a lot longer, folks. So if you have your questions or comments, make sure you get them in now. And we appreciate every moment with you. Don't look for women who are already going free, or women who already have everything down pat. When it comes to white well-being, when it comes to white positive sphere, when it comes to understanding white well-being, or understanding the data, understanding what's going on in the world, the best thing you can do is, if you're a young man, and the same holds true for a young woman, because a lot of our women are having tough times. I hear from a lot of women dealing with boyfriends and husbands that you would think they have no male genitalia on them. It's just so pathetic how effeminate and anti-white they really are. But when you go out on a date, interview, and these are dates, interview a lot of people, don't have sex, as I was saying earlier, and you want to broach the subject lightly with them. You want to bring something out like like we were talking earlier about, if it's Valentine's Day and you go out, you could mention that, boy, there's a lot of white erasure being promoted on these advertisements. And then they're likely to say, well, what's white erasure? What does that mean? Oh, well, they're encouraging white and non-white people to become couples and to reproduce. When people become a couple, they often reproduce. And these children, because of our genes, when these children are born, they are far less white than they are non-white. And so this is really a biological white erasure. And then go away from the subject. Don't begin to lecture them on it. Don't begin to take them down some sort of rabbit hole with the material. They're going to be looking for, is this some fanatical person? You don't want to be that fanatical person that they, in their anti-white narrative, the story that they're living their life by, that they're looking for. So you make this sort of a statement. How does it land? If the person sitting across from you is freaking out because you've said this, then you're with the wrong person. You don't want to go on another date with that person. But if they are otherwise amenable, or certainly if they agree, then you know that potentially this is someone that you can move forward with. But let me also caution you that just because they agree that biological white erasure is objectionable, doesn't necessarily mean that you all are going to get along elsewhere with your personalities, etc. So don't immediately conclude that, well, this person agrees that biological white erasure is bad, ergo marriage and children with this person. No, you have to be able to get along. For all you know, that this person will agree with you, this woman will agree with you on this subject, and then she's going to use guilt and shaming to manipulate you, to get you to do her bidding, and this is somebody you're not going to want to be with, obviously. So don't immediately jump at something like this. Instead, if you find somebody that is amenable, or as I say, they agree then you have somebody that the next time you go out or the time after that, you can mention a few more subjects. You can kind of encourage them to say similar opinions. In your office, have you seen the people getting diversity fired, whites getting diversity fired when they have a diversity hire at your office? This sort of thing, you could talk about this and slowly bring them over. I will have you know, good friend, that not a single woman that I dated over the course of my life started out caring about white well-being. They were all amenable, and then I brought them over to service to white well-being. As I said before, ladies always think better when they're horizontal, at least for me. But you're going to have to bring them over. And ladies, it's going to be the same way for some of the guys, I'm afraid. As I've heard so many times now, it's just so despicable that they'll be on a date with a guy, or their husband, they'll discover that these people are actually quite anti-white. They're very uncomfortable with the subject of serving white well-being. If you come across a guy like that, just move on. If you're married to such a guy like that, I want to do a show about trying to help married women, now that I've had so many who have husbands who are anti-white. It's just as much as men who have women who are anti-white contact me, to do a show to say what they can do to help bring those men over. And because there are some methods that they're probably not aware of, but it's worthy of an entire show, probably a couple hours at least, to talk about that subject. So we will talk about that. But ladies, when you're out dating, if the guy that you're with, if you say, well, I'm kind of sick and tired of all these commercials with the white erasure being promoted, whites with non-whites, and our recessive genes, it means that we're gone in these unions. If the guy says, well, what's wrong with that? You can, since you're not paying for the tab, you could say, well, thank you for letting me know, and just stand up and walk out. And if any of you do that, let us know, because I want to applaud you here. If any of you ladies have you have a scenario like this, the guy says, what's wrong with that? And you get up and walk right out, let us know, because that'll be fabulous. That would be I would love to see the look on that anti-white fool's face when the woman that he's trying to date has more balls than he does, has more courage and loyalty to our people than he does. He deserves to be humiliated. Maybe, I mean, as a lady, you could get away with, don't do this, don't do this. If you do, I mean, I'll be willing to listen, but don't do it. You could get away with throwing water in his face if he says something like this. Because that is absolutely despicable. That is no man, and he deserves no respect. But Jared, we have some other super chats I've got to look at, and if you have any comments to that or anything else you saw in the chat, please take it away.
Oh, just interesting comments in the chat about not doing this on the first date. I mean, funny stuff I'm seeing, but you do have to know early on. Everything Jason's saying makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Just funny stuff. I was checking out. If you need a minute, I could tell them a story about another magazine. Well, we have more super chats and get right to them.
Well, no, I was hoping that you would read your poetry for us, and I could pull up these. We have a few more super chats, and maybe get the great Jared George to read for us some poetry.
Are you going to read a love poem yourself? Or
I actually don't have one. I don't have one of it ready. I was rushing and too busy, so I don't have a love poem ready. I would have to get out a roses are red, violets are blue. But no, please, sir, that would be magnificent if you would do that for us.
Well, the only love poem I've written is really short. I actually just put it in I put the link of how it appears in my site on the side chat. Maybe you can scroll down. I don't know if you can share.
Yes.
Share the link, because I have a picture, a nice painting, an old painting. This is what I do on my site. Each poem's individual post has a painting, and then the poem. There's also a poem page where you can just scroll all of them together. And this one was actually published in the White People's Quarterly issue number 2 that came out just a couple of months ago, the fall-winter 2019-2020 issue. So Tony over there printed this, proud to be part of White People's Quarterly. As I said, it's a short poem, so I don't know how this is going to translate on a stream. What do you guys think? I'll give it a go. I actually think I've read this. Yeah, there it is in the middle of that gray there. I think I read this. When did I read this? Did I read this last Valentine's Day? I know I've done this before, Jason. I can't remember when.
Let me see if I can make it, if I can zoom in a bit.
Or maybe, I don't think it was as recently as when it was published. No, it feels like it was a while ago. And this was only published a couple months ago in White People's Quarterly 2.
Oh.
That's hard copy. That is a magazine you can get hard copy. And I have the link right there. But if you go to my site. So, all right, I'll just read it. So, let's see how this translates on a stream. Ivory lace and life-bent trees and garden size. Just we two, alone, all one, a sun and a moon. Storied face, though young, and kisses placed, and fingers run, our inner space, soon.
Magnificent, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some round of applause for this magnificent poem and Jared George's magnificent reading of his poem. You can find that over on his website, which, of course, is thegreatorder.com, thegreatorder.com. Please, let's see some raucous emojis.
Trying to paint a picture, images in your mind. Let me know if I succeeded. I don't know if you got any images in your mind.
I think it was beautiful.
Capturing that flush of love when just you two are alone. or you're anticipating. See, really, that last word, soon, you're anticipating being together. So it's in the present tense, but then are you thinking about it? Well, that's up to you to decide. You experience the poem in your own way. But painting pictures with words.
Well, why don't you just take a moment and, if you recall, as you wrote this poem, if there's something you wanted to say about the process of putting it together and how you were inspired, and anything else you might like to add, I guess, about the process of writing your poetry.
Well, there's not really a story behind it. I'm really more. This has been way too long in the making, and it's still going to be a little while. Really more of a musician and songwriter, but I haven't even gotten to that yet in my public life here. That will play a part in all of this at some point soon. But I have a journal I keep, and sometimes I just take pieces from here and there. I can't quite remember what happened with this, but a lot of times in general, and I know I've talked about this a little bit, when the first White People's Quarterly came out, and it was in the summer, or no, even before that, I believe it was about a year ago. We were talking to Jeff of White Art Collective. I read some poems last March. He had us read some things when he did like a poetry focused White Art Collective stream last March. I remember talking about the process, and you have to. I mean, for me, different creative people are different, but I really go into a state when I write where it's sometimes like free writing, and there's a lot of messy stuff I don't use. I kind of just, it wells up from the subconscious, and then I pick apart a few pieces, a few lines, or even descriptions, metaphors that are juicy and excite me and kind of work, and I pluck them out, and then it's a process of either adding to that and sculpting it, or sometimes you take one piece from writing session A and one piece from writing session B, and they could have been done on different days, and somehow they kind of work together. But whether it could be the littlest thing, it could just be one line. At some point, you kind of just get this hook. Same thing with a song too, really, is it starts off as a mess or jumbled or just trying things and having fun. You have to have fun. You have to not worry. I've known artists who say that even when they're in their private journals, they get nervous. Like, what if someone found it one day? There's all this self-consciousness, and they were judged. You have to have fun. You have to let it go, all that cliche type of stuff, and really let your imagination play. But then you find something that's the hook. You find like the theme or an image that kind of pulls it into sharper focus. And that's the process where your logical brain then comes on board more. And that's where you, as I said, you can add some things to flush it out, to round out that theme, make it complete, make a compact statement. And you also have to have the discipline to know what to scrap, throw away a lot as well. So broadly speaking, that's kind of how they happen. It's a very, very difficult thing to talk about because it's not really in the realm of the logical, trying to use to explain it in a linear way using words right now. It's there's a part of it that escapes that evades that, even more so with music, just riffs or chord progressions on a guitar. Again, same kind of thing. It starts kind of jumbled, but then there's something that's more coherent, and you can kind of hum it. It has a shape to it. There's a melody to it, and then you get that hook, and you kind of follow that, and then it kind of takes on a life of its own. The poem or the song, it wants to be complete. It needs to be now in this crystallized form. So it's very much a symbiotic thing. Are you writing it? Is it writing you? Again, it's so hard. It's so hard to talk about this stuff without sounding cliched and just kind of fluffy and airy fairy. But that's how it is. I mean, I know this about myself. That's how I work. It's a very like pulling from the unconscious kind of thing. I've had dreams where songs come to me in dreams. We'll talk more. I'll talk more about music when it's time to do that, when you actually hear some music of mine. But yeah, the mechanics are similar. So that's the general way that I experience it.
Well, thank you for sharing that with everybody.
I hope that made some bit of sense somewhere.
It did indeed. In fact, I will do this for a moment. I don't have a poem to read, but in the past, I read one on the channel into a video. And so I think what I'll do is I will play that. Here we go. She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek, and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. And that is, of course, She Walks in Beauty. The music continues to play for a little bit, but so She Walks in Beauty, ladies and gentlemen, and you can find that on my channel along with a couple other poems that I have read, and I will be reading more in the near future into poem, but we're almost out of time here. I will read. We have White Wellbeing. What a wonderful.
I did have a funny comment. Underhill said, I very quickly edited out the part in my poem about throwing down a jacket in the mud for a woman after you said what you said in the beginning. Very funny, Underhill.
That's great.
That's the editing I was talking about. You have to know what to throw out.
Yes, yeah, exactly. White Wellbeing writing with £2. Thank you for what you're doing and for White Wellbeing. Well, thank you so much for that kind compliment. I'm going to move through the live chat here to see. I know I've been missing things from tonight. Folks, if you have any final questions or comments, please make sure you get them in now. Ryan with $5 over here on YouTube writing, don't show them a movie called The Greatest Story on the First Date, and the end part is never told. You know, I had to say that apart because the AI is listening. Don't show them that video on the first date. How funny, Reptile writes, would it be if on the first date both partners were going free and they both were timidly dropping hints? That would be funny. That will happen eventually.
That might be a good skit.
Yeah, it would be. Trying to figure out, is the other one really accepting of going free or not? Okay, let's see. JK160 super chatting $5. Thank you so much. Hamlet's poem to Ophelia is great. Highly suggested to the single guys for their wives and girlfriends. Thank you so much, good brother, for both the recommendation and the super chat. Look at all these magnificent. We have Underhill is here. Eminent Rain is here. Fornull is here. Nothing but stars out tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here, every one of you. Now, let's see. Over on this, it looks like I missed a couple from earlier. Let's see. Ursa Major at some point super chatted $10 on YouTube. Thank you so much. Writing, NWG, your take on the SAS and the fiasco. Well, I did speak a little bit to that tonight, and I spoke to it much more aggressively on PWR because I was only recently made aware of it and had watched it. It is absolutely despicable, and it is magnificent for the two reasons that they're making such things that I cited, which is one, the weaker of the two, that it will help our people. It's so blatantly anti-white. It will help normal vagues out there to see that something is seriously going on, that there's real hatred for white people. It's not these pretexts that the anti-whites have used for so long, the myths of pretext, moralization, intellectualization, sentimentalization, of pretexts to conceal their desire to inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. That's the weaker of the two reasons. The stronger of the two reasons that it's a good thing that they're doing these sorts of things is because it undermines the anti-white narrative. Very important. But I find it absolutely reprehensible. I am disgusted by it. And though on PWR, I recommend it, though I know that the regular frontline employees have nothing to do with this, you should, as I said on PWR, I will be doing it when I'm at the airport, going up to these employees. I'm going to let them know that I know that they might not be anti-white, but as long as they are wearing that uniform, they are to some degree complicit in what their company is doing, and that I very much want my unhappiness, my how furious I am to be passed up to their managers, that we in the public are disgusted with anti-whiteism. Make sure it doesn't matter. This is a great point. Thank you for asking this. It doesn't matter if they don't already know what the word anti-whiteism means. You see, I created that because I knew that people would be able to figure it out. Everyone has so far. Now, maybe you'll be the first to come across somebody with a 30 IQ and they can't figure out what anti-whiteism means or anti-white. But the odds are slim. You are going to say to them, as I'm going to say to them, maybe I'll videotape it when I talk to these people and I'll post it up on my site. But just to tell these people that we in the public are disgusted with anti-whiteism, and that commercial that this company has produced is anti-white and reprehensible and disgusting. You will not be doing business with them. Please let your manager know how disgusted you are and how all of your friends agree with you that it is repulsive. This thing that white people create nothing, invented nothing, we just thieved everything. And of course, they're talking about all white people, because when they say, well, they thieved from Germany this or they thieved from this country that, you know very well that if we follow the anti-whites logic into those countries, Germany, whatever other countries they name in that commercial, and asked, are those things originated here? They would absolutely say no. They would say no, that was stolen from someplace else. And also, this is the really important thing. Do not fall for the obvious here. The obvious is to begin citing things that have been invented or created in the Scandinavian countries. Do not fall for that. As I said on PWR, and of course, this is an absolute lie because YouTube gets to decide what's true. But so what I'm about to say is absolute lie. 95% of all inventions and discoveries, creations on planet Earth have come out of Western kind. Now, YouTube decides that that's false, so it is false, and you can ask them for the truth. It probably all comes from Nigeria and Israel, I'm sure. But the reality, we know what the reality is. And we also know the anti-white narrative. You're not going to be able to argue your way out of it. In every single European country, every single country of the West, there are millions upon millions upon millions of inventions, creations, discoveries. And of course, it's going to be possible to reach and creations of all sorts, by the way. Of course, it's going to be possible to reach into a country and say, well, this came from, and cherry pick, and that came from someplace else, and that came from someplace else. If you fall into the trap of beginning to cite, well, they invented this, or they invented that, and they invented this, even the best among us is only going to be able to maybe cite off the top of our heads 10 things that came specifically from Sweden, 10 things that came specifically from Norway. And then you will have just proven the anti-whites point by doing that. Because all you'll be able to cite is 10 things. And then they'll say, look, exactly. They only came up with 10 things. So do not fall into that trap. Instead, you just understand that this is part of the anti-white narrative. You talk with people about this the same way I just shared it with you. And then you ask them, have you had enough of this anti-white narrative yet? Because they're now saying, and the reason they're now saying that you don't exist, you never existed, there never was a Scandinavia, there never is a Scandinavian people. And of course, they're talking about all Western kind, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, you follow the anti-white logic to any Western country. And the reason they're saying that is so they can white erase us. So have you had enough of the anti-white narrative yet? Because if we've never existed, never created anything, then there is nothing to be erased. And that's exactly what's happening to our people in South Africa. Guaranteed, as I said last year, they'll be saying, oh, there were never white people in South Africa in the next couple of years once they have white erased us from the country that we created. And it won't even be, I hope they change the name, because it won't even be South Africa. I don't even want it to be South Africa in name. South Africa is more in my heart and more in Jared George's heart. We've never been there, never been anywhere near, but it is more in our hearts because it is in the biospirit of Western kind than it is in any of the black people that live there. There was no South Africa, and there never will be, and it will never be maintained. I could go to the moon and create South Africa anew. Nobody who's non-white born in South Africa could go anywhere in that country and create South Africa or sustain South Africa. So this is how you talk about the SAS commercial. It is despicable. And anybody playing this down is a monster, because we damn well know that if this were said about any other group of people, I mean, could you imagine? Just try it with any other group of people, with any of these vagues that you talk to about this, that they've created absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing has come from these people. Try that with any other group of people and see how they'll accept that. So it's fabulous. I hope they play this commercial. I hope the anti-whites make more and more of these commercials. I hope they keep doing these halftime shows that are as anti-white as they can possibly get. And by doing so, if we're there with going free, we will reap the reward from that. We just had White Pride super chatting 20 Danish krona. Thank you so much for that. I didn't say anything, but saying everything that needed to be said with those beautiful corona. Let's see what else we have here in the live chat, and then I will check over here to make sure I didn't miss anybody from earlier as well, and then we'll jump on over to entropy. And then we're going to be checking out for tonight. We've had a great stream with all of you. I see folks saying hello to Jared and I.
I'll remind people, next Friday, the 21st, mark your calendars, starting at 4 Eastern. 2-year tap birthday show.
Oh my God, it's going to be crazy.
So come party with us. It's going to be a big, fun celebration. 2 years of streaming together. We have a lot to be proud of, a lot to be thankful for, and we want to see as many of you there as possible. It'll span at least a couple of hours, at least 3 hours. So I know you might not be able to catch all of it, but part of it, we want to see you there. Please do come help us celebrate, as we are very excited. And the more people there, the more energy we can build and really mark the occasion for what it is. Precisely.
Let me do that. Let me see what we have here. Yeah, folks, get ready for that.
Let's get you. Zoom in. Your anniversary.
All right, what do we have? Western Crusader saying, good point. It was an attack on all Western people, not just the Swedes, or not just the Scandinavians, precisely. We need to be of the mind, ladies and gentlemen, that if they attack one of us, they're attacking all of us. I'm going to tell you very briefly. When I was playing youth football, we always had white coaches or head coaches. I guess occasionally we had a non-white we actually had a Redskins. How sad is this? A Redskins football player who had, I don't know what laws he broke, and he had some prison time, and then he was forced to do community service. And so we had him as a coach one year, and he skipped most of our practices, and he wasn't, you can guess what group of people he belonged to. He was not white. And we actually, the parents were so angry at that, we had the idea. We said, why don't we go to his house? Why don't we go to this loser's house? And we did that. The parents said, yeah, go ahead, go to his house. So we all us kids ran over to this guy's house, banged on his front door. We were all in our football gear. What a day that was. Where's our coach? And the wife, not knowing what to say at the front door. Then he finally comes staggering out from the inside. What a loser. But of course, he was paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, and white people worshipped him. But no, that's not what I wanted to talk about. On another season, this was the only other time I had a head coach that was black, and this guy was something else. We had grown up with white head coaches, and they had always told us no fighting on the field, not ever a fight, and if you get into a fight, you're going to be in so much trouble, and you're going to have to run laps and during the practices and all of this sort of business. This coach told us, and this is the way that we have to behave as a people, ladies and gentlemen, is no more of these Queensberry rules. This guy got all of us white little kitties around him, and he said, I'm going to tell you something. And let me tell you something. This guy's van was broken down, and I remember after one practice, he wanted to wrestle all of us and in our pads and everything. And he had a gun, which was probably illegal, in the van. And we all saw that. But anyhow, he got all of us white kids around him. I think the team that year was all white. Maybe one of my friends on the team was black, but he got essentially all these white kids around him. And he says, I'm going to tell you something. If one of you get into a fight, no, it started off by saying something like, you have to play like you want to fight. And if one of you get into a fight, you better all get into a fight, or I'm going to whoop your asses individually. Every person that doesn't get into that fight, every kid, I am going to fight you. I'm going to whoop your ass after the fight's over. And so that is how we have to be. Because in a world of collectives, the individual is eaten alive. So I know we have all of these, what is instinctual for us, this individualism, and we have these Queensberry rules that we adopted because we were in conflict so much with each other, our brothers on the battlefield and this sort of thing. But we are not in that world anymore. We are in a world where you have non-white peoples, and God bless them, they're all better than we are, and they live collectively, and they fight collectively. And there's never a time when they're going to say, hold on now, just let these two gents go at it. They're going to be jumping in. And when we see one of our own attacked, we need to immediately jump in. So this is not Scandinavia. This is Western kind that SAS is attacking. And every single one of us better feel personally attacked by them attacking the Scandinavian countries. You don't have to have any Scandinavian blood in you whatsoever. You could be a white person from Greece 1,000 generations back, and you better feel personally attacked by this attack on our brothers and sisters in Scandinavia. Full Moon Ancestry says, I don't care what they say. As a proud Westman of Danish descent, the cinnamon roll will always be Danish. They can't erase me, you or us. Amen to that. Very well said. And it was here, Western Crusaders saying it was indeed an attack on all of us, as I echo once again. And we have, I think we mentioned, yes, Master Rebels. And we have Gandalf the White, super chatting $5. Thank you very much. Says for the Euro, I don't know how to pronounce that, Dharmic, scientific, theocracy to protect our biospirit, focused culture, to exalt the European common man. Thank you so much, good brother. $5 from a great participant in our community. Machiavelli Sucks is here, $1.99. Thank you so much. It was a little earlier today as well. If women isn't pure, if a woman isn't pure white, but is pro-white, okay. If the woman isn't pure, well, I don't even know what does pure white mean. We have the biospirit, the spirit of the West creates our people in a great many varieties. If you mean, if you're meaning like, is she not white? Are you looking for a partner? And if you're serving white well-being, if that's where you are today, if you want to serve white well-being, and you want to, particularly if you want to have children, you'll be participating in biological white erasure by having children with the woman who is not white. Now, if you're already married, or you all are, you live together for long enough that legally you're considered married. I mean, this is, I guess, the law, common law across the United States. I think in a lot of the former English colony countries that they have such laws, common law marriage. If you're in a situation like that and she's white positive, remember, we don't say pro-white, because that word now, that label now is on the targeted violence list by Homeland Security, and those titles, pro-white, white nationalists, all of that stuff has been put on the FBI's list, that they are now going to be, they have elevated to the same level as ISIS for resources in the FBI. So we don't say pro-white. We know that the people here are white positive. So yeah, I would recommend, I mean, if you're going to serve white well-being, that you serve white well-being by finding a white mate, and if you can, have children with her. If you don't intend on having children and you have a non-white girlfriend or bride and she's white positive, God bless her. That's magnificent. Yes, she absolutely can serve white well-being, and we welcome her with both arms, wide as possible. So thank you very much, Machiavellius, for that $1.99 investment and the question. Did we get everybody else? Ryan, $5. Oh, we got that one. And JK's. Okay, actually looks like we're good over here. So let me check on, if anything, I was talking with another couple who is, the man is white, and the woman she's got a little bit of white, but she's predominantly non-white. And they are both white positive, serving white well-being, and rather than have their own children, they are going to be adopting white children. And I think that's a wonderful thing for them to do. They want to perpetuate our people, and so God bless them on that decision. Zero Talon over here on Cash App, super chatting $5. Thank you, good friend. And writing, you know what this is for, brother? I do. Thank you so much. And super chatting $2 as well, Zero Talent, over here on Cash App. Thank you so much. Sad they got so many beautiful scans in that ad. I know, it is just despicable. These wonderful people. And of course, they have these actors. I call them pretenders. They have these actors, and they'll do anything for $1. They're no better than prostitutes. In fact, I think a prostitute is more honorable, because at least they're not hiding what they're doing. An actor can be 1,000 different things, dawn till dusk, and they'll serve anything you want them to serve. I mean, try to go out and get a prostitute to do something other than a sexual trick. But an actor will do any kind of trick you want them to do if you pay them enough. Tipsy McStagger over here on Entropy, super chatting 6 Australian hopping dollars. Just some love for the white well-being community. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much, brother. And we have Ryan again with $4 over here on Entropy. Thank you so much for that. Saying everything with the $4. Dissident Agnostic, super chatting $25. And writing, should the white positive sphere encourage whites to bank with credit unions and avoid racially unsafe corporations? Anything that will serve white well-being. And that's the thing that is so important about what we do here, is that I am not going to be able, Jared George is not going to be able to sit on your shoulder and articulate in every different scenario what will be best for you in that particular moment. That's why when it comes to the lexicon, when it comes to the dialectics, that it is so important to adopt these, because they are specifically designed to create a chain of thoughts that will always lead us to the service of white well-being, even in our slowest members out there. And when you have quick members, bright members out there like Dissident Agnostic, they'll be able to, obviously, they have the right objective in mind. They'll be able to conclude given that objective, given the parameters of those dialectics, the best course of action for those scenarios. That's the big difference. This is the 200 IQ level of how we recapture our destiny. And I think that is just about all of the super chats. And if there are any other comments, let me see. Mr. George, do you have, I see Jay Esom is here. Great to see you. HB, the great HB is here. Wonderful to see you. Good brother. Mr. George, do you have anything to add? I see that you have, Mr. George needs a moment as he's dealing with, I think, maybe a computer issue. And I will take a quick look at the chat and see if anybody has anything else to ask or to say before we roll out of here tonight. I want to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there, male and female. I want nothing more or less for you all than all the love in the world and all the warmth and caring in the world that a human being can handle. I want to give a spotlight to a number of folks that I saw with us tonight. I saw Ginger Snap was with us tonight. Nice to see you. Mike Anderson and Randy were both here tonight. So a big spotlight and salute to both of you. The great Imminent Rain was here tonight. A Promethean hails to you, my dear friend. And ladies and gentlemen, keep an eye open for the upcoming pieces by Imminent Rain as he begins to unfold this magnificent album that he is making out of the story of Prometheus Rising. And of course, the great For Null I saw here tonight, and he is doing the same with a number of songs, not the whole album, but he has produced 2 songs that are situated out in space, sort of this futuristic. There are spaceships using the verbiage out of Prometheus Rising. They're very interesting and a lot of fun, very professionally done, great pieces. And he is also going to be making at least one more that I know of. So I want to give a salute to him. Apostle of Enlightenment was here tonight as well. Of course, we had all of our great mods that I want to thank tonight before Jared George, who has returned, will give his final thoughts. I want to make sure that I mention that I saw a big thank you to HB 2014. I don't know if you did any modding, but thank you so much for all that you do. Of course, Roy was here moderating tonight. Thank you so much for your services. Laura, Ray, and Seaver the Great, all here tonight, doing the lion's share and the thankless work very often of moderating. And yes, folks, the moderators get it wrong sometimes, and sometimes you're right, sometimes they're right, but they are doing their damnedest to do right by all of you and right by White Wellbeing and protecting this channel from comments that they think first might harm the channel and secondly might run people off when they show up. I know that a comment that you might make, you might say to yourself, well, there was nothing objectionable about this comment. It seems totally anodyne, and what's the big deal? This group can handle it. Well, maybe this group can. But they're also thinking about those vagues that are showing up for the very first time. So you need to keep those folks in mind as well when they show up and the kind of things that they're going to be reading. They're going to be looking for the antagonists in the anti-white narrative. And if they see anything that is similar to those characters, they're just going to turn and run and they'll never come back. In fact, on the last Going Free, we had somebody say, I think it was the last Going Free, we had somebody say that they had a person who had their first contact with the white positive sphere was something really objectionable. They tried to talk to them about Going Free and they just didn't want to hear anything about it. They just kept pointing out to that first thing that they had come in contact with and they didn't want to hear anymore. That is going to be the case with a lot of folks. And that speaks directly to that reputational investment, which is why you don't go repeating some crazy theory from some pedantic prattler that, for 5 minutes of their life, they're going to be a big Yang supporter. And then they're going to immediately drop that as soon as they can't get your attention anymore. They'll move on to something else that will be novel. Novelty takes, as we learned, these things are called, by Porridge, the great Porridge. And these novelty takes only serve them. They ruin your reputation. You go out to people, you say these things, they look at you like you're crazy. The next time you come back, you want to talk about going free, and they won't want to hear anything of it, because that last thing you said about lizards and yang is just put them off for life. You've ruined your reputation. We don't do that here. But Mr. George, final thoughts, and let folks know where they can find you, and everybody get ready, because Jared's again going to mention our party coming up, and you better make sure that you make it.
Yes, this is your invitation. You're cordially invited to the after party 2-year birthday show next Friday, the 21st. We're going to be celebrating 2 years of Jason and I streaming together, and we're going to be bringing that in with some of our friends from around the world, multiple guests coming in and out to say hello. So please get ready for that, and please tell everyone you can about it. We want to celebrate with all of you, see the names, take your questions, and just have a fun time. So thank you for hanging out with us tonight in this kind of informal after party tonight. Happy Valentine's Day, and enjoy that if you have a loved one. If not, then it's all right. Ultimately, there are antecedents. There's some history to look up about this holiday, and it's not random. It's not just a Hallmark holiday. It does have antecedents in our cultures, having these love festivals in February. So take some time to look back at that. But if you don't have a partner in your life, well, you can say to some degree, in a modern context, it is a bit of a Hallmark holiday. If you have a loved one, use it as an excuse to celebrate. But if you don't, as we were saying earlier, and as Jason definitely spoke to directly, use that time to take the love in you and do something with it. So even if you don't have a romantic partner, put it into service for White Wellbeing, put it into bettering yourself, put it into working on relationships with friends and family members. All of that improvement around you and within you with your other kinds of relationships will come back to you. And if you are looking for a romantic relationship, it will help get you ready for the right kind of partner and recognize that kind of partnership when you meet that person. But other than that, yeah, join us next week. My site is thegreatorder.com. Our shared site with all the media stemming from these shows is the afterparty.tv. Please share those around. Please join our newsletter list on the afterparty.tv. Let other people know, invite them into this, and we will see you all very soon.
Thank you very much, good sir. Yes, everybody, be sure that you're at that party, because it's going to be fantastic. I don't know if this computer, if we play music or something like that, I don't know if this computer will be able to make it less tinny than it does. But if it doesn't, if we can't fix it by then there's too many things going on to be able to make it happen. But we'll eventually get it fixed. Nonetheless, I want to say thank you to everyone who has shown up tonight. A big happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Make white babies, as Poseidon says. And thank you to all of you who participated in the live chats. And a big thanks to everyone who's invested in White Wellbeing here tonight on tap. We love you all, and we look forward to seeing you all again next time.